Okie doke. So covering the route for me conversion for day one. We're going to go over everything that needs to be done before the first day of rolling out route for me in your facility. Step one, above all else, you will need to audit all of your pickup time windows in the op system. It's extremely important. You'll see why later. But if you have any zero package pickups that no longer ship with us, it causes a lot of noise in the system and tends to create issues with the routing later on.
Say one thing. Also, you'll find in some cases, drop boxes have a pickup window of 1 minute. And Brett will show you later when we set the standard stop time as 2 minutes, that will naturally cause the optimization to crash because it can't find a solution. So again, just audit that and look particularly close at the windows and zero package pickups.
Thank you. Step two, you want to make sure that all of your territories are drawn and assigned unique route numbers with no gaps. To do that, we're going to go to the address book over here on the left-hand side. We're going to go to address book map. Once this loads up, I'm using Plano as an example, so all of the routes are actually already drawn. But you can see as an example, each one of these routes has a distinct route number over here on the right-hand side. The correct formulation for the route name is going to be a 3-digit route number. The 4-letter master contractor identifier, and then the last section is either zip code or whatever you want to name that route, such as the city that it covers, etc., etc. Once all of these are drawn, you want to go back and just kind of make a quick sweep through the whole thing. Make sure that there are no gaps, such as this one right here. For that reason, this is just as an example, all of this area currently in this empty space, if there are packages going to any of those houses, will not optimize into the system because they do not technically belong to any territory.
How's the access not?
Oh, to get a better view, if you go over here, hit these little arrows, this will go away. You can also do it on this side, but I recommend keeping it up just for the visibility, but you can shrink it a little bit if you would like. With this gap that you see right here, all these houses, like I said, are not being covered. So somebody has to cover them, which means we need to adjust the routing or the territory. To do that, you'll click on the territory itself and you will see all these little dots start to pop up. Now there are two distinct dots. You have a solid white one that you see at the edge here, and you have a kind of grayed out dot that you'll see in the middle of the lines. The solid white one will actually move the entire line that it is connected to, while the gray one will micro adjust the middle of the line and also end up creating a whole new line after it's being moved. So what we need to do is make sure that all of these are connected real quick. When you get all of them together, sitting here, it's always better to overlap just a little bit. You want to have some overlap. An overlap is better than a gap because we would rather have packages in the territories. I'd rather have them in 2 territories than in no territory at all, because I'd rather it actually optimize into one of the other, because I mean it's on the line, it doesn't really matter, so it's going to go to one of the 2, but it can't go out if it's not optimized into the territory at all.
On the sort tool, just pick the top one.
During the use of the sort tool, if the 2 territories do pop up, just direct your sorters that are scanning in the morning to just write the number for the one at the top. That'll allow that's where the package is more than likely going to end up anyway. But for sorting purposes, it just makes it simpler. Now, flash forward, once we've got all of our territories drawn out, we've made sure there are no gaps, everything is covered. And everything is ready to go. We'll move on to step 3. Step 3 is all drivers must have their own OFID and Route for Me accounts, no exceptions. By no exceptions, I mean no driver can be using somebody else's account. No new driver can be using somebody else's OFID. It's for compliance purposes as well as settlement payment purposes. So the contractor needs to make sure that every driver that's out on the road has an OFID, is in the system, and is using their own their own Route for Me account.
So do one example.
Right.
Okay.
So over on the left-hand side, you'll see Teams, and when you click Teams, you're going to go to Users. These are all the users that are currently in the system. To create a user account, you'll up here in the right-hand orange button, it says Create Users, Add Manually. And just for example, we're going to put Brett Test in here and Wilkinson. And then phone number, the email address of the subcontractor that is going to be using this. I'm just going to put in a test@gmail.com. Let's put in something taken already. It's not gonna let me save it, but whatever. You'll create the password. You'll confirm the password, and then you're gonna set their level. Most of the time, it's gonna be driver. In the event that you have a new dispatcher coming on, you can set them as an administrator. Who they work under, this is their master contractor. If they're a dispatcher, you'll just put them directly under yourself or the station, however it's labeled. And then you want to make sure that they are read-only. If they are not read-only, what can happen is the driver has access to more functionality than what they really need to have. It allows them to delete stops. It allows them to re-optimize, and we just don't want them to be able to do that in the middle of their day without without us knowing. The last two parts of information you need for the driver are the most important. This is how the contractor will actually get paid, and it has to be in this exact case and spacing. You're going to start with service center, capital S, capital C. And then for example, where I'm in Plano, so it's going to be capital PLN, save. And then add custom data, same thing, except it's going to be OFID, all caps. And then it's going to be whatever their open force identification number was that was given to them after they completed the compliance. So we'll just do that for example. This is how it should look. Always.
Wasn't there somewhere you put the contractors they report to?
Yes, that would be right here, reporting to.
Okay.
And then this will be everybody labeled as regional managers, correct?
Do one example of editing a driver here.
Right.
Edit their existing drivers.
So I can't save that one just because it's the information's not unique. But let's just take, for example, this Ace Evans right here. After you create the driver, you want to come in and edit them every single time because there's a few other settings that need to be changed. You'll leave the password and everything alone. You'll see that the email is grayed out. It cannot be altered. If you need to change their user type or who they report to, you can do it here. You want to make sure that these 3 boxes are checked. Hide route scheduled before the current date. This helps clean up their scanner every day so they're not seeing every single route. If they have any questions about a previous route, they can come to us. Compatibility, company visibility, see all drivers, and global orders list. And then as you can see, this person down here has the service center as Plano, the MC email, but they are missing their OFID, which is another thing that needs to be audited before day 1. We'll get with the service center manager about this and we'll get this one corrected.
Super critical before we show up to make the conversion to do what Brett just showed for every single driver. See, we found just by chance, the first one we found here was incorrect, which would cause all kinds of settlement issues. So Anyway, do it for every driver and delete drivers that most likely will not be back anytime soon. As you saw what Brett just showed, it's not that difficult to add a driver back if they show up 3 months later, as opposed to cluttering up your list, I think, right?
Correct. Yeah, I agree. Okay, now that all of that would be taken care of, we are going to move on to step 4. And that is to make sure that every driver that's going to be out on the road has an optimization profile. Again, on the left-hand side, you're going to go to routes, and then you'll see a drop-down menu. You're going to look for optimization profiles. Once we go in here, there is a specific set of settings that need to be set for every single driver right off the bat. First off, we're going to do create new profile. You've got 3 tabs up here, general, optimization, and bundling. Make sure you go through all 3 of them. We are going to the profile name. Let's just name it test and Brett. And then you want to name the profile and the route name both the exact same thing. And I'll get into why for that in just a little bit. The start time is going to be 8 a.m. The override service time is going to be override schedule. Company standard is going to be 2 minutes. So that's 3 zeros, a 2, and 2 zeros. And then you'll find the driver that you want to assign to this particular profile. Let's just say we wanted to assign this person. Next, we'll go to the next tab, which is optimization. Same thing.
2,800.
Yep. 2,800 is the address here. Once it populates, you want to make sure you click it here. This will pull the correct way that it needs to be into the system. Always use end route, departure address, round trip. We're going to minimize the routes. We want to make sure that it only runs 1 route for that driver instead of trying to break it up into 2. Maximum route duration. Company standard, stick to 12 hours. If they get done faster or it takes them a little longer, it's not that big of a deal. And again, company standard with the advanced optimization, adjustments. Don't do anything with the adjustments. That's not necessary. That's something we'll be using in the future. Advanced optimization fine tuning. Company standard, we're going to stick to 0%, 80% by sliding this over here, and then 0%. Next, move to bundling. You want to make sure you enable the bundling. Keep it on grouped by address. We're going to keep the original service time, and then we are going to do custom time of 10 seconds for every added package. So once that's all completed, I usually go back and just run through it real quick, make sure I didn't miss anything, because one setting out of whack can cause the whole thing to crash. Then we're going to hit save. And now that's done. Now that we have our optimization profile created, we're going to go to territory orders. This is here in just a few minutes where we'll actually be running the optimization from, but just as a sample to attach the profile we just created to the territory that was drawn beforehand. Go in here under optimization profiles. Now you can see that test Brett is in the profile. Now, when we optimize it, it's going to use those settings exactly the way that we just input them into the system and spit out a route. So as far as getting everything corrected in the backside before the optimization, that is about it. I think we're going to wrap up and do a second video for the actual optimization process.
Go ahead.
No? Okay. So we can go ahead and just move forward.
Just a few more minutes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So once you have got all of the stuff that I just mentioned completed, and we go to run the entire building, you're going to go to territory orders, this little checkbox up here at the top, and then you're going to see this 20 items are selected. Select all that match the filters. This will make sure that every territory you have is selected. One caveat to that is you do want to make sure that if there are any territories that have no orders at all in them, you want to make sure you uncheck those because it will crash the entire optimization and you'll have to basically start from scratch. And I know nobody wants to do that, nor do they have the time. This one's only 3 pages, so I can just very quickly check all 3 pages.
You can change items per page to 100.
Oh, yeah. Or you could change the items down here per page to 100 and then just be able to see the whole thing. So now that we've got those 2 that don't have anything in them unchecked, we are going to bulk action, plan separate routes. Okay. An unfortunate error. Sometimes that happens. And that usually is caused by one of these.
I think you missed the third 0.
Yeah, I think it did too. Yep, I did. That's exactly what I did.
But you can point out that's why it's so important.
Right.
Really, you do that on purpose just to make it.
Oh, I missed another one. My bad. There shouldn't be this many. I think it optimized a couple of the profiles, but that's fine. It runs it in an order, and if it ran those before it got to the zeros. So, okay. So now that we've got that taken care of, we will plan separate routes again. Right. On a really heavy day in a bigger station, this process may take 5 or 6 minutes for it to actually process everything because it is running a lot of data through a very complex algorithm. So just be patient with it. Try to start your optimization a little earlier than what you normally have your drivers come in. That way you can focus. After this, there's just a few more short steps that'll need to be done before the drivers are ready to go. So now that the optimization is done, you're going to see all of these routes are populating. Okie doke. So now that all the routes have populated, you need to just kind of run through them real quick and check them all out. Make sure that they're all good, no unrouted destinations. But before we can do any of that, there is a lot of map data being processed into the system right now. So you want to make sure that you're not trying to look at everything all at once. So you want to go through and uncheck all of these real quick. This particular step is a tad bit tedious, but I promise it saves you a lot of time in the long run.
If you just close the map window, does it?
No. Nope. I've tried every which way you could possibly think to uncheck all of these all at once. It just doesn't work.
And also all those endpoints and some of the profiles are set up.
The default profile is set up wrong. I meant to change it before we started this video and I forgot.
You notice when you see all those endpoints, there should only be one endpoint, the facility. But we're still in the audit process here. They did not have round trip check. So that's why you saw a lot of different endpoints. If you look at it, it makes no sense. It has you ending up at the furthest point away from the facility. Generally speaking, that's not a good thing, so.
No, you want your driver to come back.
Just another, and what you'll find too is the driver won't follow that. They're gonna going to the endpoint first, probably going backwards.
Right.
Anyway, okay.
So now that all of these are unchecked, the next thing you want to do is you want to check for unrouted destinations. So you will just type in unrouted up here at the top, all one word, doesn't really matter. So as you can see, we have no unrouted destinations for today. Today is actually Tuesday. This was the last unrouted destination was for Monday, November 29th. Not that big of a deal. If there are any unrouted destinations, you do want to check, you want to open them up and actually check and make sure by hovering over them, you'll see the stop type as delivery on this one and the time window as 6 to 10:30. Both of those are very important. You want to make sure that none of the pickups are being kicked out of the routing. If they are, we need to push them back. Same thing with the 10:30s. If they are being kicked out of the system, we need to find out why, and we need to figure out what route we're going to actually insert that into. Once all of that is done, last thing you need to verify is your user assignments. If there are any unassigned routes, the drivers cannot see them on their handhelds. So you want to make sure you go through and assign all of these. It's very, very simple. If you wanted to assign this route right here to say me, or say test. Let's say we wanted to assign it to this person. It will, you're going to see it go through two phases. It's going to go through the dispatch account and then it's going to go straight to that person. Now you see it in two places. You see the user here and you see the user here. The way this is laid out, this is the route name, the route optimization name. And then this right here, all of this is the territory name. So when you click on it, it opens it up and you have two views here. You can actually see on the map how it's going to be ran, but you can also see the order of delivery down here as well. These time windows are because this route is very, very small and the time window on this particular pickup doesn't open up until 3. The system deems that it needs to wait until 3 o'clock to do this pickup. Other than that, most of it is going to be hands-on and one-off situations, which we will answer any questions that come across as we come on to them. If there's nothing else that Paul needs to add.
No, show them how to combine two territories.
Correct.
Or
Yes.
3, but
Okay, so I mean, that's a very good point. You've got, let's say you've got these 3 right here. They've got 4, 3, and 3 stops. Obviously, you don't want one driver out there on all 3 of those. So let's say we wanted to take and combine all 3 of these. So we're going to we'll select all 3 routes, make sure they're all checked. And then up here, you're going to go to File, Merge Select into New Route. There is no need to do anything up here at the top, no checkbox, no typing. The route that's at the top is going to be the one that it takes the settings from. So if we want to make sure that Jason stays assigned to it, we're going to make sure that 255 is up here at the top. And then we will apply. Now, when you merge these, the 3 original routes still stay in the system. You can keep them there if you want. It is my suggestion that you go back and delete them after you've verified that the merged route is in the system and ready to go. Otherwise, it just ends up causing clutter and it makes it difficult for the dispatcher to decipher which route is which whenever he's trying to assign pickups, which I will show you here in just a moment. So merging the routes sometimes takes a minute. It'll pop up at the very, very top. And look like it has populated yet. Yep, there it is. So you've got this merged route. So now it took all 3 of those routes and put them all together, gave you an optimization in the best possible way. Now that we've got those, like I said, we can go back here, check these 3 again. You're going to go to Edit, Remove Routes, and Confirm. It's going to make sure that you are very, very, very sure because it's kind of a pain in the butt to redo it if you have to. So make sure that you're sure you want to delete. Proceed. That will take out these 3 original routes, leaving behind only the merged route. After you've merged it, what you want to do, the last thing before you send the driver out, is rename the route. You want to put the driver's name that will be running that route on it. And there you go. The last thing we're going to show you is how to go through and assign pickups, on-calls, and that kind of thing throughout the day. If you go to the left-hand side and go to orders, we are going to see all of the orders that are currently in the system in a card view. You have 3 different views up here. My suggestion, don't use the map view unless you're filtered down to one singular thing. Otherwise, it locks up your system. You've got a list view, and then you've got the card view. In my opinion, card view actually shows more details. So I tend to use that one more often. Use whatever feels right for you. To filter down to just the pickups, you want to type in the word pickup, all one word, no caps, no spaces, and that will bring up all of the pickups for the station. Now, some of these have been routed, so we don't need to push them to another route. So what we need to do is we need to filter out the stuff that is unrouted. So we'll go over here, click unrouted. So this one, for example, is an on-call that looks like it just came in. So it was actually placed after I ran the routing, which is good, gives me an example. If you go to the card, right click on it, you're going to get this little option right here that says insert order into best route. This is going to give you 4 to 5 of the most optimal routes that this pickup will go on without causing any timing or distance violations for the drivers. So we've got all 5 of these here. Now, see how all of these say Plano, PLN on them? It's hard to know exactly who is running this. So even though this pickup may belong in this route 211, maybe 210 is the driver that's actually going to be taking that pickup today, but we don't know what driver is on that. That's why it's extremely important that the optimization profiles are naming, and if you merge, you rename the merged route into the proper person. Once you select the route that it's going to go to, you've got options up here. I would suggest leaving it to where it's at now, insert at optimal position after last visit. That will put it on the driver's route. No matter how much they've completed, it'll put it after their last stop in the most optimal spot. So once that's done, you'll hit proceed. That will take that pickup. It will put it into 210.jc. So let's just verify that it went there. So we've got 1830, 1831. We're going to look at routes maps. And that was route 210 for pickup 1831. Dot. That's another thing, just FYI. The search bar up here has to have 4 characters for it to really get a good search out of it. So when you put in the 3-digit route number, you need to put a period at the end to get the route to pop up. So now we're going to verify the there it is, 1831. And that's where it put it. Put it at the very beginning of the route, basically suggesting that they start their route with this pickup and then finish out their day. Obviously, that's not the most optimal because we have this endpoint thing here. If the endpoint was actually at the start point, it probably would put that pickup at the very end of the day. I think that's it. Can you think of anything else?
That's enough of the basics. So for everybody, when you roll out, start the way exactly Brett showed. There's some other things we can mess with, like the service slowdown, traffic slowdown, the other wait times, but we need to start with this first and have one standard method. So, you know, when you report issues up to the online chat or to me or to Brett or whomever, if you've got crazy settings in here, things we've seen like 2-day route durations and 10-minute stop times and a 50-minute, no, not a 50% service slowdown, just whatever. It's just hard to track it back. So start with this. And if you get a case where you see some particularly odd routing, let one of us know, because there are exceptions, but this will probably get you 95% routed correctly if you do this exactly as he just said. So other than that, good luck. Thanks, Brett. Good job on the first run through.
Mhm. Oh, and very last thing, this is your best friend right here, this live chat button. If you ever have a problem, click that live chat. They'll help you.
Click on it. You'll get to know the people and they'll get to know you, so.
Yeah, when you click on it, you'll make sure you fill in your information here, choose your team, which, whatever you need, web support, mobile support, if it's a driver app issue, web support. Yep. And then start the chat.
There you go.
There you go. And gives you a live person.
Guys, that's one of the biggest, besides all the other flexibility and power we have, this is instantaneous. We send something to Brain, say 24 hours, you may never get an answer, but these guys are really good. So just telling you, straight.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah.
See how fast they answer? And then you just close it out when you're done. There you go.
That's cool.